Good morning, everybody. We are here. It is Sunday morning. This is Lizzie and Justin from Thirdspace in Turning Towards Life, our weekly live, unscripted broadcast of meaningful things and meaningful conversations. This week we have an incredible poem that Justin is offering as our source, which is by Hafiz. And I'm so delighted because Hafiz is my favourite poet, I think, and all of these gorgeous people who translated his work into brilliant English that makes me snigger frequently, and also means so much and reaches deeply into something that is beautifully indescribable, but we'll try. This is just really beautiful, and I'm really glad to be here in amongst the strange times we're in. We're in April 2020, and it's quite an extraordinary piece of history to be living. And so that this is our response in some way, this is what we continue to be dedicated to and continue to be committed to each week. Coming here, Justin, is really beautiful, meaningful. And it's also, if you've recently joined us, you might not have heard us say this, we haven't said it for a while, but this is our by hook or by crook practice. And it means that wherever we are, we turn up. And I think maybe we've done two pre-records, Justin, in the whole of the series of episodes we've done, which is 133, I think. And one of them when I was giving birth to my daughter, and one of them when Justin's son was going off on a very big trip, and his plane happened to leave it just around the time when he needed to be at the airport that Turning Towards Life was. So it's the only time we've ever not done this live. And the by hook or by crook thing is that wherever we are, whatever we're doing, we just try our very, very best to get here and to do it. And today it was a hook or by crook thing for me because my little girl did an absolutely huge, explosive, comprehensive poo, and it went absolutely everywhere. And I was saying to Justin before I just got on the call now, it happened just at the wrong time. And anyway, I'm here, but I can still kind of smell poo somewhere on me, and I'm not quite sure where it is. So I'm kind of sitting here thinking the disaster outside is waiting for me to clear up afterwards, and I've got poo on me, and I'm completely here and want to talk about Hafiz. And that's why I enjoy totally about this, is that it is intended, and I think that's kind of who we want to be in the world, Justin, to be a real space, one where we show up as we are, whoever we are on the day. And it makes me very joyful that we can do that, and we don't have to be polished and perfect and performing well or something, but that we can bring our most genuine, open, honest selves. And that's really all that's required. Is extraordinarily liberating and makes me very joyful to be here. And I think it's appreciated too. I think it's unusual to find this, and I'm very grateful just to be able to show up as the me that is here on any given day. And I'm very grateful, and here's to the mess of our lives, really. And mixed that with Hafiz, it's quite a lovely, potent potion.
Wonderful introduction to this morning, Lizzie. Yes, right in the mess of things. And I was thinking as you were talking that I've been speaking with someone this week, someone who's important to me. We've been speaking about practice and about what practice is and what practice does. And this, of course, is a practice. I know this is a practice for you and I, but I also know that it's a practice for many people who maybe have got up this morning, if you're in the same part of the world as we are in, to join us live, or the practice of listening to this at some point in the week. That the point about practice is that we turn up for practice even when the conditions aren't right, because the conditions are never right.
Yeah.
And you so beautifully in talking about your morning said something right in the heart of what this whole project is, which is turning towards life as it is, not shined up, not made less messy through some artifice or something, but simply turning up and being alive while we are, and being real and being in the thick of it again and again and again and again, which I know that you too are a great advocate for. What happens when we live that way, when we live our lives as practice rather than as some kind of great performance or something. So here we are doing the anti-performance podcast, the anti-performance, as much as we can. And seeing how we go. So I'm so pleased also to be doing this morning. I want to, as I often do, just say thank you, well, of course, to you, Lizzie, but to everyone who is with us in this project that makes it possible that you show up and that you listen later or that you watch us live. And I want to, before we read the source, I want to give a little shout out to another project that you and I are involved in, which is called Turning Towards One Another, which is we've been doing for a few weeks as this coronavirus crisis has unfolded. We started a practice of providing a space where people can gather just to listen to one another, and it's turned out to be very beautiful. Turn up for an hour. We do a short introduction, and then you get a whole load of time just to listen to other humans and to say honestly how you are. And that's the start and end of what the practice is. And I had such a beautiful message last night from a friend who's been participating, who said what riches this practice is opening. And it was really, I'm mentioning it now, Lizzie, because it was born out of this. I mean, that was possible, happened because we've been doing this. So it's every Wednesday evening on Zoom, 6:30 p.m. UK time for an hour. And if you want to find out about it, you can go to wearethirdSpace.org and then look at the top right of the screen, and it currently says Turning Towards, but it might say something different there in a few days. We're trying to come up with a good name, but you click on that and Turning Towards One Another is there. You can find all the details and just come and join us. We'd love to see you. And we have a source for this week. So this poem by Hafiz, who I also love. Lizzie, when I was making my choices for what source to bring this week, I realized that we had for the last few weeks brought things that in a way sort of bring us right into the heat of this particular time that we've been in. They've been sources that bring us in contact with feeling afraid or our vulnerability or any of those kind of things. And I'm glad we've been doing that, and I'm sure we'll keep on doing that as we go. But I could also feel this week that I wanted to find something that would bring us into sort of more squarely into the ordinariness that's always here, whether or not we're in a big global crisis, like the things that the things that continue that might not be getting our attention so much because we're so tuned into the bigness of things. And of course, like all of it, whether it's a source that directly seems to speak into the bigness of things or seems to be more ordinary, it's all about the same thing anyway. So there's no real distinction. But I love, and I'll read it in a second, this source by Hafiz, this way of talking into something about the way that we are with one another and the way that we could be with one another that I found particularly moving. And it's called With That Moon Language. And if you ever want to find out where to find our sources, good place to go is either on our Facebook group. You can search Turning Towards Life on Facebook, come and join us, or Turning Towards .life, where later on today the source and this recording will be posted. So this is Hafiz, translated by Daniel Landinsky, With That Moon Language. Admit something. Everyone you see, you say to them, "Love me." Of course, you do not do this out loud. Otherwise, someone would call the cops. Still, though, think about this great pull in us to connect. Why not become the one who lives with a full moon in each eye, that is always saying with that sweet moon language what every other eye in this world is dying to hear?
Admit something. Everyone you see, you say to them, "Love me." Of course, you do not do this out loud, otherwise someone would call the cops. Still, though, think about this great pull in us to connect. Why not become the one who lives with a full moon in each eye, that is always saying, with that sweet moon language, what every other eye in this world is dying to hear?
It's wonderful hearing you read it, Lizzie, and there's so much in this. The thing that got me into this was this. I think Hafiz is pointing to a sort of choice that we can make. One that I know I have many times in my life fallen on the side that I think is ultimately the less life-giving and the more painful, and which I suppose in a way, maybe all of us are doing this one way or another. I suppose I've spent a long time seeing if I could work my way through to the more life-giving side of it as much as possible. And the side that was familiar to me and is sometimes still familiar to me, of course, is the one where I am going around the world going, love me, love me, love me, love me, love me. Please love me, please love me, please love me. And then doing all kinds of jumping through hoops and all kinds of distortions to try and get that to happen, because I'm not used to feeling. I think this is the part I know about myself. It's very, very easy for me to feel with no other reason than a sort of felt sense in my body and maybe deep past history or something, to feel like I'm on the outside, like I'm not appreciated or not loved or somehow exiled or excluded. Usually, by the way, because I imagine that I've done something terrible and wrong that would have had that happen. So my sort of asleep pattern, or my familiar habitual pattern, is very harsh self-judgment. I've done something wrong. You must, of course, know that I've done something wrong. And because you know that I've done something wrong, you are excluding me, even though there's no evidence that you are. And I'm looking for all the reasons why that's the case. And at the same time, going, please love me, please love me, please love me, please love me. And in a way, trying to sort of fill in. It's like a kind of backfilling move. I'm trying to fill in to see if I can, by being desperate enough and maybe getting you to be very demonstrative in some way, very, very particular way that I've decided that you have to show me that you love me, then I'll be able to settle and I'll know I'm all right. And it's, once I'm in that, it's incredibly painful. It's self-generating, because almost anything can be a sign that you don't love me, or that I'm abandoned, or that I'm the failure, or let you down, whatever it is. So it's a very, very difficult place to get back from on the premises upon which it's based, which is I have to be a bit desperate and maybe distort the way I behave, like not say what I really think, or agree with you when I don't agree with you, or make myself very small or something. And it's based upon an assessment that can never be met, which is at some point I'll be absolutely sure that you really do love me, and then everything will be okay. But I'm looking all the time for all the reasons why this situation is not the case. And I can go, if I'm not onto it, I think I've got a lot. I'm pleased to say I think I've got way more aware of this in recent years, but it would be very easy for me to go for a really long time in this painful, twisted way, to wake up into it, to continue in it, to be really convinced by it and not even know that that's what I'm doing, because it's sort of like the background way the world is. And then Hafiz does this amazing move. So he points to that, because I think it's great, this line where he says, you wouldn't do it out loud because someone would call the cops. And I think, yeah, but I'm pretty much doing it out loud. I mean, other people know. They haven't called the cops, but... And he says, let's just be really real about this great pull to connect. Of course we want to connect. Like, that's what being a human is. So why don't we just take up the other side? And that I find such a glorious invitation. How about just becoming the one who makes sure everybody else knows that they are really loved? But here's the magic thing that I only spotted when you were reading it. What it is to be one with a full moon in each eye, where our eyes are saying what every other eye in the world wants to hear. That's not even going around and doing just some other version of the desperate thing, Lizzie, and going, I could just turn it around and I could go, I so love you and I so appreciate you and I'm so glad you're here and everything, just as a sort of desperate attempt to get myself back okay. That he has our eyes do it, I think, is genius. So generous, because then we're as I read it, I realize I'm robbed of all of my equally sort of twisted, needy, grabbing strategies to sort of secretly get loved because I tell you how much I love you. And, you know, I sort of turn the tables. Not that at all, something else. Oh, Lizzie, I can't hear you. That's because you're muted.
I'm muted because Vesper's screaming in the background with Matthew, and I know she's fine and she just needs to go to sleep, but I thought it might be coming through on the mic. I was just saying, you have said so beautifully what that poem encapsulates, and I love the way that you've said it all. And it reminded me, well, first of all, what really struck me at the beginning of what you were saying was, I feel like it's so easy to think that this isn't what we're doing. Like, it's almost one of those tricky kind of blind spots that's like just out of sight, that's actually really what I'm doing. It might look like I'm doing something completely different, like I might be cooking my neighbours some dinner, alternately thinking that it's fun, and that's true, and then underlying that is, please love me because of what my food tastes like. It's like, it's really tricky, like that there's a way that it can begin as one thing and turn into something other quite quickly. And it's a really I have certainly found it anyway, like a really hard thing to admit that that's what I'm doing. Like, it's a bit shadowy as well, like especially when your self-image is caught up in being a generous person or a good person. And in those ways, and of course it's true that we're doing things for other people and we're being kind and, you know, helping others and all that kind of thing. And then to know then and to uncover that the reason you're doing that in this deep irony is actually quite selfish, which is, oh, that's because I'm saying love me, love me, love me. When I help you, you might love me. And I know that it's been really tricky times when I've seen that underlying motivation that I've been denying, especially if what comes back isn't the response I want when I am being generous. So if I get some kind of response that isn't appreciative or whatever, and fulfilling of the love me, then I can see how much I've been doing love me. Like, if I bring something to you and you say, no, I don't want that, and I've put my heart and soul into providing it for you or something, or at least I think I have, that response I know is provoked in me a kind of, well, who the hell are you? And, like, you know, feeling really angry. And it's been really helpful to acknowledge that because underneath I was saying love me, I wasn't okay with any response you were going to give me. I was only okay with the response that I was looking for, which was I love you. And so I feel like it's a very beautiful poem because it gently acknowledges and invites us into this awareness that so much of our, probably all of our motivation as humans, probably in one way you could say it, is that we are going around asking for that all the time. And it's really helpful to know that that's what we're doing, because if we know that, it allows us to be more discerning, I think, and to be clean with ourselves, to be really straight with ourselves, honest with ourselves about why we're doing things and what our motivation is, so that we can clean it up a little bit and not feel so brutally wounded when it doesn't go the way that we think it should go, based on our kind of cover intention, if you like. As if I'm really aware of the fact that I'm saying love me, at least I can know that the wound that's happened is in response to that, rather than my cake or something, and keep it on the surface. And so I love the way that you talked about that, and how, you know, it takes us time to get to that place and to be honest with ourselves. And I think it also takes courage to face that as well, because it's not often a very pretty place either. It's not a very, it doesn't go with the self-image of being generous. very well at all. So the self-image has to kind of have a rest in order to be truthful about it. And the other thing was as well, when you were talking, it reminded me, I have this game, and some of you may know our lovely friend Nina, who's in Thirdspace with us, and also I do it with my sister, where we make requests of one another to give us the very specific compliment that we want to hear. So Nina and I did this game the other day where we talked to each other at length about the name under which we wanted each to be saved in our mobile phones, so that when it flashed up, it did justice to the creature that was calling me. Because she was insulted because I had Nina PCC, so I met Nina on the PCC, which is the professional coaching course that we run, and all I had was Nina PCC, and she said, "Oh my God, like." As if, and we met like 10 years ago or something, and she said, "How can you have me as Nina PCC in your phone? That's so demeaning to the kind of, relationship that we have." And she was joking, of course, but I kind of took it up as an invitation. I said, "Well, what could I write that would do justice to just the kind of person that you are, and just the kind of way, the kind of name you'd like to be acknowledged as in my phone, so when it flashes up when you call me, it does justice to the greatness of you," kind of thing. So it was this hilarious game of us figuring out what would be the most complimentary, and like you said, like the very specific naming of our beauty or our greatness or our something that our ego kind of really, really wants, so that we feel really met in that place of us by our friend. And so I don't think Nina would mind me sharing her one, when it comes up in my phone, is most beautiful and excellent creature. Not even her name. And I can't remember, I don't even remember what mine was. She might be able to write that in the comments, because I can't remember, it's in her phone. But it's a really interesting practice if you're in a trusting enough relationship to request things. Like I said to my sister the other day, "Please can you compliment me for exactly the way I've loaded the dishwasher?" So I'm a person who people reload my dishwasher. That's the kind of person that I am. People get really annoyed because I'm not efficient with the space and all of that kind of thing. And so I get quite a lot of criticism from that, and I seem to not be able to correct myself about it either. And so I said, "Can you just tell me that the way I load the dishwasher is really, really beautiful, and just tell me some things you appreciate about the way I've loaded it, like just how the angle of that cup is and what I've done with the cutlery." And it's such an acknowledgement of the love me piece, because of course, like so much of everything we do, we want to be appreciated for. And so I found it really actually very funny, but also developmental, to make requests about the way I want to be appreciated. To say, "Please, can you thank me in this way for the thing I just did?" Which removes all the smoke and mirrors. So firstly, it's me admitting I'm saying love me. And secondly, I'm asking for something that meets the place in me that is saying love me. So I'm kind of like making it transparent, rather than having it this kind of stealth. "Are you going to say you love me because I did this thing? Because that's what I want you to say." But it's like trying to make it like all the way out here, so that it can be acknowledged, it can be lightened, and it doesn't have to be like so much is at stake on the kind of undercarriage of our relationship.
That's so beautiful. I'll know now how to respond to dishwashing when next time I get to be at your house, Lizzie. This is really beautiful, because these are the two sides of it. I really appreciate the way that you're talking about this, and I think Hafiz is really onto this too, where he says, "Admit it. Everyone you see, you're saying to them, love me." So the first stage in it is to not get onto that at all, and to be going, "Love me, love me, love me." Like I want you to tell me how much you appreciate my care or the way I load the dishwasher, but I'm not going to tell you that that's what I want, because if I even told you, I'd be letting on to this deep dark secret, and then you might not love me. So I have to keep it secret, and we all have to play this secret double game that's so difficult. And I'll be wounded when you don't tell me that. And so it's such a liberating move. What you're describing is to find that there are people around us, and we can say, "Look, this is true about me." So for me, it's true about me. It's really easy for me to feel abandoned when I'm worried that I've let you down. and I'm worried that I've let you down because I disagreed with you, or because I didn't do something I promised, or because I asked for something, whatever it is. So please, could you just tell me that I belong? I can just feel in saying it what a liberating move it is to be really straight about how messy it is to be a human, and how hurt we are, and how much we long for. And if we can find people who will be grown up with us too, in our grown upness, we can actually do that. So to compliment you on loading the dishwasher would be such a delight, even if I would load the dishwasher differently, because I love you and I would want you to feel my joy at the particular way that you have of loading the dishwasher. It's excellent. It's such a, the generous move in it also is that by doing that you're busting the myth, which is also Hafiz's job, that we're not up to this. Like, why don't we just get really straight that we're all playing this game and we could help one another, and that we don't have to deal with playing the game by giving up on our particular wishes to be met. We don't, because that would be one way you could go as well, maybe the way to deal with this is to not want anybody to love me, is to sort of detach myself, and is to not want appreciation for this or that. Well, maybe over time what we long for changes, but right now it's true that this is a painful place for me, and maybe there are people who could. So that's part one. But the other thing that really strikes me about most beautiful and excellent creature, I love that. So fantastic, is the other side of it, is the second half of the poem is, could we learn to be people who simply have others around us feel loved? Like we can feel into the particular flavor of their longing and know how to meet it, and not keep on playing our side in the game of withholding, or having the other person have to guess. So to begin to know people well. I think there's a particular part of it, but actually the thing that I'm remembering now that struck me whilst you were speaking, Lizzie, that I got onto is, it's really something that Hafiz talks about, living with a full moon in each eye. Because the people I know there are people I know who are truthful and real, and will tell me the truth, but I have absolutely no doubt that I'm loved. And I watch them with everyone, and I think that's what they are in the world, is that they are a stand for people knowing that they are loved and welcome. And it's not in what they say. You can see it in people's eyes very often. There's some way in which, when we've made that move to really fully welcome other humans, without any of the distortion, without any of the game playing, that then it's not even about the dishwasher or about what name you have in your phone. In a way, there is a step I know that's possible beyond that, which is to be that person who is saying, with that sweet moon language, what every other eye in this world is dying to hear. And wouldn't it be a thing to dedicate ourselves to the practice of being that, of releasing our own woundedness enough that we're not demanding from anyone else. We are simply taking a stand for a welcome for other humans.
Yeah, I think it's so beautiful, and I feel like it can't not, like it has to be linked to and born from the way we see ourselves. It's so inextricably the same thing. Like my capacity to really see that part of you, like you were just saying, the who-ness of Justin, the who-ness of anyone, is very dependent on me cleaning my relationship to myself up. And the more I can appreciate myself for the way I load the dishwasher. You know, if we're going to use that just as this little way of speaking about it, and I can accept the way that I do it and see my good intention in it. Whatever way you load the dishwasher, I can relate to you in that way too. Whatever way you load the dishwasher, if it's pleasing to me or unpleasing to me, if I'm relating from the some place beneath that, having contacted the part of my place that even if I've messed something up, I know my good intention, I know my innocence, I know my goodness, my where I came from in the first placeness when I did it. If I know that part in myself, it's so possible that I could see that in you, rather than find all the ways wrong and completely mess up the response to love me, love me. And it's a really incredible intention to live that way, and to feel this through our eyes. Like I can feel it in myself now, like how beautiful to be a kind of an undercover, not about doing, not about saying things, but like an undercover lover, where we gaze upon one another from our own good intention to another's good intention. And of course there'll always be the dance over the top that we're doing, and missing each other and hurting each other and whatever, but a place to return to that is my goodness seeing your goodness, my original self dancing with your original self, that feeling and that way that we could intend to live feels very important and very beautiful. And also kind of like when you said it, I thought, oh, I feel really excited about that. Like in a way, there's a kind of a loss in me that, oh, will there be less drama? And actually I quite like a bit of drama. But then I think, okay, so if there wasn't the drama, if there wasn't the fight, if there wasn't the wrangle, I could feel this rising excitement about what is there? What am I distracting myself from by being in the drama? That if that wasn't there because I could dedicate myself more deeply to coming from this place, what's there in that seemingly kind of nothingy space that's not filled with arguments, not filled with drama, not filled with wrangles? What is the nature of yours and my relationship, like essence to essence? And how like what gets born there? What is that? How could we speak of that? And I think, interestingly, as I'm saying it, I'm just remembering the conversation I had with Nina about the most excellent and beautiful creature. In the uncovering of the love me, love me, I think that conversation can happen, because when you admit the layers of self deceit or whatever it is, like where you're pretending stuff to one another, and we sink down into somewhere more honest, somewhere more clear of all of the distortions, it's a really beautiful place between humans. And I can feel it between Nina and I now. I know where I was. I know where I was walking when I was on the phone to her, when we were laughing. It was exposing and beautiful, and also reflective. Like we were really thinking about what would mean something to us to be really, really seen by the name in each other's phone. And the dance that could happen between our essences in that moment was really beautiful. And so I feel like this is definitely one of those practices that I want to continue forever, and to continue to ask people for, and to be in relationship around. And of course, the people that I trust will be the people that I ask the most, because it's a funny one to make requests of strangers or something. But I just feel like it's a really big invitation, a really important one, so that we can have this experience of essence to essence relationships, that then when there is a wrangle, the essence to essenceness seeps into the wrangle as well, and allows us to be in much more honest conversations. Like you were saying, that there are some people that tell you the truth and their gaze is still upon you in a certain way that has you know you're loved.
I'm aware that it's time for us to end, and I want to pose as a parting thought something that just occurred to me that I'm sure we'll get into another time. You said this amazing thing, Lizzie, which is that in order to be able to do this, we have to work on our relationship with ourselves. That we have to clean up what's going on here in order to be able to be straightforwardly generous and would not have that be another sort of distortion. And it struck me that there's a sort of cliche in our culture, which is that the work that we all have to do is to love ourselves. And I think that that is true, and that's part of it. But I also realize that actually this goes beyond each of us. I think that for me anyway, the work is to know ourselves as unquestionably loved by life itself, by something bigger than us.
Yeah.
Because it's a really big thing to imagine that all of this work somehow I have to create a self-convincing something here, when actually the move is a kind of giant letting go and finding out that we're held. And because I'm held, I don't have to be twisted in my demands that you treat me in a particular way, even though that I might want that and like that. There's something bigger and deeper that holds me.
Yeah.
And then it's possible to do this. And I wanted to say that because I think that there's this risk that any of us might take this project on as a sort of almost like we try to get in self-aggrandizing in order to solve this problem.
Yeah.
And that's never going to work. It's just another version of the same thing. Becomes sort of narcissistic that way. Really what's called for is a giant letting go into the world.
Yeah.
And I'm really pleased to have, in hearing what you were saying just now, to have got into contact with that as a memory that it's a surrender that's called for, that allows us to love, not our grasping, not a clinging, not a getting. And that will carry me into this week to come, and carries me into my appreciation of you, Lizzie, and feeling this way towards you, and also to this network of people and lives that this conversation is reaching out into as well.
Yeah.
So we should stop here. I want to say thank you, as always, to everyone. Thank you for being with us and or being well. We'll be here 9:00 next Sunday morning.
Absolutely.
We'll see you then.
Thank you for listening, everybody.
Thank
Bye.
you, Bo. Bye.